Good morning, New Life. I am Trisha Lawrence, and I'm the women's ministry leader here at New Life Community Church. We are on location today at Abba Care, which is located on 319 South Riley Street. We're excited to be partnering with them, and Pastor Jim's going to talk a little bit more about that as we go on. I do want to just talk to the ladies for a second. I want to invite you women, if you have not been a part of Radiant Life, to please get plugged in and connected. We do have a Facebook page that you can join in on. It is nlccwv.radiantlife. That page is specifically for our ladies, so that gives us an opportunity to encourage each other and pray for each other and be there for each other. So if you have not joined, please join today. Another way that you can get connected is through our connection card. So if you have questions and you want some answers to some things about what's going on with women's ministry, you can certainly fill that out on your connection card, and I will get back to you about that. So with our connection card, coming up on the screen, you'll see a QR code. If you scan that QR code, that's going to take you directly into our connection card. And all you need to do is fill out. That gives us a communication that we know that you've been here with us today. It gives you an opportunity to give prayer requests if you would like to, and we will certainly pray over those prayer requests. It gives you an opportunity to also sign up for things that are coming up. A couple of things that are coming up that I want to make you aware of. We are having an owner's class. If you're wondering what owner's class is, it's really an opportunity to learn more about who we are at New Life and what we do. Pastor Ryan is going to be doing that on Sunday, May the 16th at 9 o'clock at New Life Community Church. So if you can go onto that communication card and sign up, if you would like more information about that, communicate that on your communication card. Second thing, baptism. So because of COVID precautions, we have been online for the last couple of weeks, hoping to be back next Sunday. But I just want to encourage you, if you have signed up for baptism, we are still going to do that. We have extended it for a couple more weeks. If you have signed up for it already, Pastor Ryan is going to be in touch with you to get that rescheduled. But this gives you that have not signed up for it an opportunity to do this. So if the Lord's been placing it on your heart to be baptized, you still have an opportunity to do that. So through that connection card, just say that you want to be baptized, and Ryan or someone else will be in touch with you about how to schedule that. And so coming up, we're already in May, believe it or not, almost to May. We're going to be having a church event, a celebration, a Memorial Day celebration, and we're going to be doing that on Sunday, May the 30th at War Memorial Park. We are going to have one service, which will be at 10 o'clock. We're going to have fellowship, we're going to have worship, we're going to have a sermon, and then after that we get to eat, which is the best part, right? So plan to join us. Mark your calendars. There'll be more information coming in the weeks coming, but plan to come, bring your families, invite some friends to come and join us for a day of food, fellowship, and fun. And lastly, I want to give you an opportunity to present your tithes and offerings to the Lord for all the blessings that He has done in our lives. So there's 3 easy ways to do that. There on the screen, you're going to have 3 different ways that you can do that. You can text, you can come in person, or mail it to our location church. And the easiest way to do that is going to be to do that online. So that gives you an opportunity to be able to give weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. The easiest way to do that is to do that. So I want to say thank you for joining us today, and we're going to turn this over to Jim.
Good morning, everybody. We are so glad you chose to join us today for our worship time. Guys, let's get ready and do some worship.
Oh, I've heard 1,000 stories of what they think you're like, but I've heard the tender whisper of love in the dead of night, and you tell me that you're pleased that I'm never alone. 'Cause you're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. Oh, and I see many searching for answers far and wide, but I know that we're all searching for answers. Only you provide, 'cause you know just what we need before we say a word. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. You are perfect in all of your ways. So perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. Oh, love so undeniable, I can hardly think. Peace so unexplainable, I can hardly think as you call me. Deeper still as you call me. Deeper still as you call me. Deeper still into love. Love, love, you're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. Who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. Amen. won't prosper. When the darkness falls, it won't prevail. 'Cause the God I serve knows only how to triumph. Oh, my God will never fail. Oh, my God will never fail. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. Yeah. There's power in the mighty name of Jesus. Every war he wages, he will win. Oh, I'm not backing down from any giants, 'cause I know how this story ends. Yes, I know how this story ends. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory, yeah. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. Yeah. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. Oh, you take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. Oh, you take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. Yeah. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. Oh, you take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. Oh, you take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good.
Hey, well, good morning, New Life. It's great to greet you here. Here we are again in our living rooms and our cars, doing the worship thing, all because of this nasty thing called COVID. But church, we're just trying to take care of our people. We had quite a few come down with COVID, and so we're here doing this online yet again. But guys, I just want to tell you, I love our church the way you've been so resilient and working with it, and it means the world to me. It also means the world to me that you've been praying for me as I've been going through my cancer stuff, and I went through another barrage of tests, and hopefully by Sunday I'll have some answers as to what's going on, and then the next couple of weeks I'll probably be having surgery to get this stuff out of me and hopefully get on the road to recovery and quit hurting. And today's a super special day. You know, every year there's a day called Sanctity of Life Sunday where all churches all over the country, they partner together. Well, we're not doing it on that Sunday, but I want you to understand we partner with thousands and thousands of churches around the country to stand for the sanctity of human life. And you say, what do you mean sanctity? I mean this. We believe that life begins in the womb. And because of that, we believe that it deserves protection. Guys, I want to share just some stats and ramble, and I'm going to have somebody introduce, and we may contradict some of those numbers a little bit, but I just want you to hear some of the numbers I found, and you can go from there. In 2014, I found that there were 1.1 million abortions in the U.S. 1.1 million. That works out to 20 abortion. Every 20 seconds, there's an abortion in the United States. That number has dropped significantly since that time. But I want you to understand, since Roe v. Wade came along, listen, there's been like 56 million abortions in the United States. Think about that, 56 million. It's crazy. Nearly 1 in 4 pregnancies end in abortion. That's 22% of all pregnancies end in abortion. 50% of all women that are now seeking abortion have already had at least one. Let that sink in. 50%, approximately 1 in 3, maybe 1 in 4 of American women have had an abortion by the age of 45. And, you know, I know when a church starts to speak on this, the first thing that happens, many women, they draw back and they feel like, my gosh, they're looking at anything but that. I want you to know my heart and my belief is that there's absolutely no sin, no anything that we've been involved in that God can't forgive. So if you've had an abortion, and many of you have, I want you to understand there's forgiveness from God. If you've paid for an abortion, you've encouraged somebody to have one, there's forgiveness from God. And you may be wondering right now, Jim, we're in a series of messages called Grow. How in the world does this have to do with growth? Well, it has everything to do with it. In fact, if you'll remember, 2 weeks ago, we learned that we've got to develop the practice of growing and talking about that Paul said in Corinthians, we've got to stand firmly, that we've got to become stubbornly faithful, and we've got to learn to sacrifice fully. And then last week, we pondered the paradox of growing, and we established that we have more than we think we have when we offer the little that we have. Let me say that again. We have more than we think we have when we offer the little that we have, and it's so true. And then today we're going to discover that we must maintain the right posture for growth. Now listen, this is important. And what do you mean by that? The right posture for growth, by living our lives with conviction and with purpose and fulfilling the unique roles that God has for each of us. Well, I told you today's a special day. Well, today I have with me Suzanne Pearson, who is the development director for Abba Care Resource Center. And I want you to understand, we are so excited that Suzanne, to have you with us, but I'm even more excited that we're getting Abba right here in our community. It's been needed, church, for so many years. It's something that will encourage young women. And I want you to know, I'm going to have Suzanne share just a few details about Abba. But I want you to understand, as they're getting started, they're right here on Raleigh Street in Martinsburg, and right in the heart of our community, that we're going to be taking up an offering today. I've been announcing it for several weeks. I've challenged you to double tithe. And church, I want to challenge you right here before God, right here in front of Suzanne, that you you consider that. You give 10% to the church, 10% to AvaCare Pregnancy Center. And there's going to be a link on the screen all through the service. At the end, I'll come back to it, but you can, on the drop down, you can do it. You can click AvaCare. Every dime that you give will go directly to AvaCare. We don't keep anything for ourselves. But Suzanne, we are excited. Why don't you just share from your heart a little bit about the center here?
Sure. Thank you so much, Jim. And hello, New Life Community Church. I am so excited to be with you guys today. I wish that we could be together in person and worship together. But until we can do that, it's great that we have the technology that I can come to you this way, and we're sitting right here in the center here at AvaCare Pregnancy Resource Center in Martinsburg. And so I'm just really so thrilled to be able to share a little bit about what we do and why we do it. If you aren't familiar with AvaCare, we are a pregnancy resource center. We have been serving women and families who are facing unplanned or ill-timed pregnancy in Winchester for about 33 years. We've been there. But just in this last year, the Lord has opened the doors for us to open a second center right here in Martinsburg on Raleigh Street. And so I'll tell you a little bit more about the how of what we do here in this ministry. But first I want to talk about the why. And as Jim mentioned, abortion is a huge issue. And just a few statistics that I had found, and again, these numbers may vary a little bit. It's hard to calculate some of these things, but clearly it's a major cause of death. Abortion is the leading cause of death in the United States and worldwide. Roughly 40 million preborn babies are killed worldwide, and nearly 900,000 in the U.S. on average in a year. And just to put that in perspective, COVID killed under 3 million people worldwide in 2020 and about 345,000 in the U.S. So just anywhere from 2 to 3 times as many dying in the U.S. as from COVID last year. Abortion is also one of the most divisive issues in our country. The abortion debate has become front and center. And you can't escape that. You see it on the news, you see it on social media, really every day. We have some legislators who are fighting to expand abortion access all the way up through birth, while other legislators are trying to cut those access to abortion back through legislation like the heartbeat bill. But we know that abortion is not just a social and a political issue. It's a gospel issue. And I'm just so grateful and thankful to let you know that God is opening people's hearts to this. And so at AvaCare, we seek to follow God's lead every day just by loving on our clients one heart at a time. So each year we see about 400 pregnancy clients between the two centers. We offer pregnancy counseling, pregnancy testing, ultrasounds, STI treatment, all free of charge. We also offer free childbirth and parenting classes to our clients, and material assistance in the form of diapers, wipes, other baby essentials, really anything that our moms need through the baby's first year of life. For women and men who have experienced the trauma of a past abortion, we offer a Bible study that focuses on healing and forgiveness. And the statistic that Jim mentioned of 1 in 3 women will experience an abortion at some point in their life, the thing that I find really staggering about that is that number is the same in the church as it is outside of the church. So this is not something that... If this is something that is in your past, you are not alone in this. There are others who are in that same situation, and we're so pleased to be able to come alongside women with that program. We see women who are 2 weeks past their abortion that come back to us for that counseling program, and women who are 30 or 40 years past an abortion decision. So we're pleased to offer that. We also offer a Bible study program on forgiveness, and we also have a program on sexual integrity for teens, middle school students specifically, focusing on healthy life choices. We're actually in 5 middle schools in Berkeley County Public Schools, and we also do that program in youth groups as well. But in all of our programs, ultimately the goal is to show and share the truth of the gospel that leads to life. Not just life for unborn babies, but also abundant life for all of the folks that we are able to come in contact with. And we just cannot be more excited about what God is doing right here in Berkeley County. And just as a bit of background, Berkeley County is a high-risk area for women considering abortion. There is no other pregnancy resource center in this area, and Planned Parenthood is right down the road in Hagerstown. And before we opened our doors in the Martinsburg Center, we would get calls from women wanting to come to the Winchester location, but just because of the distance, they couldn't get to us. And so God had really laid it on our hearts really 2 or 3 years ago to be in Berkeley County, to have boots on the ground here in Martinsburg. And so we just began to pray to see what God wanted to do. And He has just answered in amazing, amazing ways. He provided a facility for us. In February of 2020, we opened up sharing space with the Good Samaritan Clinic on Raleigh Street, and so we were there for about a year. And then just about a month ago, we moved right down the street to 319 South Raleigh into our own building, and that's where we are right now. So we're super excited about that. I'm just able to really expand our services and see more women here in the center. God has also just provided everything that we need, everything from staffing and volunteers to equipment. We had to get an extra ultrasound machine, which cost about $20,000, and God provided the funds for that. And it just really everything down to the furniture that we're sitting on, everything has been provided for us. And so now we're open every Tuesday to see pregnancy clients, and we're hoping to expand to 2 days and then 3 days a week and so on until we're a fully functioning 5-day-a-week center like we have in Winchester. So as God provides those funds, we're excited to expand that. And so really we just want to invite you to make a difference for life. Not everybody can get out and lobby to their politicians or to carry a sign or anything like that to kind of show how they feel about the sanctity of life, but everybody can make a difference here by partnering with us. And so in order to increase our presence and our impact here in West Virginia, we need you. We need New Life Church, and we're so thankful for you guys. You were one of the very first churches to come on board and come alongside us, and so we're very grateful for that. So in my last minute or two here, I just want to mention a few specific things that you can do to help us out. The first one, of course, is just to pray. Pray for our staff, pray for our ministry, just for continued open doors and for God's provision and protection over us. And we just ask you to also stay in the loop. We have a newsletter that you can sign up for. If you go to our website, you can sign up for the email newsletter. We only bother you once a month, but it just is a good way to keep in touch with us as far as the things that are going on with the center and prayer requests and that kind of thing. And also, just one thing coming up quickly is our Shine for Life Walk and Fun Run. That's going to be on May 23rd, and I think New Life already has a team signed up to do that, and some folks are going to be volunteering, but we also just invite families to come out and participate in the run walk and to raise funds for us if you feel led to do that. Also just helping us make connections. We need connections with businesses, organizations, other churches, potential donors. And so if you know folks that you can introduce us to here in Martinsburg, we are so happy to just get it in front of people and to share what we do. And lastly is just to give. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We don't get any government funding or anything like that. We're 100% supported by donations. And so we're so thankful to New Life for the offering that you're taking up in your services today. So we just invite you to do that, to make a one-time gift, and to prayerfully consider becoming a monthly partner. Our monthly partners are the lifeblood of our ministry. And so there's the opportunity when you go online to make that donation that you can choose to make a recurring donation as well. And if you have any questions about that, I'm always available to talk more. So just in closing, I want to thank you again for letting me be here and just share with you guys. And thank you for all that you're doing. And I just wanted to close with this. I read this on your website. New Life is a church where change takes place. Everything about our services, outreach, teaching, and evangelism is driven by that vision. Moving from death to life, seeing people saved by Jesus Christ, helping believers grow as disciples. The Christian life is marked by change. And I just loved that, and I wanted to mention that because when I read it, I thought, we feel the same way about what we do here at ABBA-CARE. Our vision statement is to equip with truth and empower with hope. And we feel that as we do that, and we see this, as we do that, God is the one that changes hearts. And so I think this is just such a great partnership, and we're just so excited to be alongside you guys. And I also wanted you to know that we pray for your church and our staff and our staff devotions. We've been praying for Pastor Jim, and we're just so thankful. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Suzanne. And guys, I think it's not hard to see why I fell in love with these. Everybody I've met from ABBA-CARE has been absolutely phenomenal. And so I'm going to challenge you, give sacrificially, and listen, to God be the glory. To God be the glory. Church, all through the COVID crisis, your faithfulness has shown up. And when I say that, I mean your activity, your giving has been incredible. When businesses and churches have been shutting their doors, I mean literally having to close up shop because of the lack. I mean, we had some days there where we got way below 50% attendance, 50% giving, and a little bit scary, but then you showed up. Your generosity, your faithfulness, and we were able to keep the doors open. Not only were we able to keep the doors open, we were able to keep every single one of our staff. I mean, we didn't have to lay anybody off. And besides that, we saw that the hospital workers were struggling. And you know what you did? You gave generously. And we were able to feed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people for weeks at the hospital, WVU Medicine. And just to say, we love you, we appreciate everything you're doing. We were able to give gifts to some small businesses that were about to go under and able to help them at their time of need. And so not only did we not have to lay off anybody or shut the doors, during a global pandemic, New Life, you hired 2 new staff members. I mean, who does that? I mean, that's crazy. We hired Kyle Hamlin to come in and work with our youth, and my gosh, he has just absolutely killed it. And I know you love him more than you love me, but anyway, that doesn't matter. But you also, we hired Jocelyn Robinson to come in and work with our Life Kids ministry, and she filled the holes that Tracy and Susan left us, and my gosh, we didn't miss a beat. Jocelyn has come in, and you never know what to expect with her, and such joy all the time. But church, we are blessed. And again, I say, to God be the glory. But church, right now, when we talk about this subject of sanctity of life, I'm going to challenge you, and I want you to look me in the eye when I say it. Listen, you need to learn to use your influence. You say, what do you mean, Pastor Jim? I mean, use your influence to make an impact. The word influence is the power to change or affect someone or something. You know, you already know that I love to celebrate difference makers in our church. Well, today I want to celebrate the difference that some women made in the scriptures. And we're going to unpack that together, but we'll look at those. And ladies, I want to speak to this. And Suzanne, I'll even speak it to you. I believe there's a special calling on the women when it comes to this issue of abortion. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the men, I'm going to talk to the men at the end of this message. So guys, you be ready. But before we jump into this, I want to give you a bit of background of the text in Scripture. I mean, here the Israelites, they're in Egypt, and the reason they're there is because they want to avoid a severe famine that is going on. And the Israelites, while there, they began to multiply like crazy and expand. And so a new king had come into power, and he became threatened by the increase of the Israelites. And verse 13 of our text says this. It says, he ruthlessly made the people of Israel work as slaves, and he made their lives bitter with hard service. Now, church, I want you to see there's at least 4 pro-life roles that we can find in this text. But here's my challenge to you. I want you to find which one of these 4 fits you. Okay, so let's go through them rather quickly, but see which one fits you. The first one is to save those who can't save themselves by fearing God. To save those who can't save themselves by fearing God. After the Pharaoh did everything to make Israel feel miserable and beat up and the thing, he started something even worse. He started euthanizing and killing and doing it. Verse 15 says, then the king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was named Shiphrah and the other Puah. And literally during this time, there was no OB doctors like what we have. Midwives delivered the babies. My own wife is a midwife. And you do it. Midwife just means one who helps bear. One who helps bear. The name Shiphrah means beautiful or brightness, and the name Puah means blossom or splendor. And you say, why do I share that? I share that because what's the name of Pharaoh listed in this text? You don't hear it because it's not listed. But here, the lowliest in society, 2 midwives are named Shiphrah and Puah. I find that quite interesting. Verse 16, it shares what these 2 ladies, what their gruesome task was. Listen at it. It says, when you serve as midwife to the Hebrew women and seat him on the birth stool, if it is a son, you shall kill him. But if it is a daughter, she shall live. Essentially, he was telling these two midwives, I want you to do partial birth abortions on these young men. I want you to kill them. Verse 17, we see because these two ladies, they had conviction. Listen, they refused to do it. They wouldn't do what the king had said. It says, but the midwives feared God. Take note of that. They feared God, and they did not do as the king of Egypt commanded them, but they let the male children live. Why did they do that? Because they feared God. This is the first time the name of God is found in the book of Exodus, and they knew somehow in their gut that God would be dishonored if they did what the king said. And so they couldn't do it. Why? Because they had conviction in their heart. And so verse 21, it goes on, it says it again. They feared God. It repeats the same thing. And what's it mean to fear God? It means to revere him. It means to live in awe of him and to submit to him. And so church, hear me. Abortion is ultimately an attack on God and his most prized creation, those who he has created in his image. And so abortion is not just some social justice issue. It's not. It is that, but it's more than that. It's not necessarily a political issue or a women's right issue. It's a God issue, and the baby is not just tissue. Not just tissue. It comes back to this thing of fearing God. See, please lean in and listen to me. When we see him, God, for who he is, then we begin to understand any attack on any human, any person. It's an attack on God. It's a direct assault on him. Proverbs 8:13 says, the fear of the Lord is the hatred of evil. The hatred. If you don't fear God, you're going to fear somebody else. Literally, if you don't revere God, you'll revert to what's easy. And these godly women, they were so committed to God, they didn't care what anybody else thought. Why? Because they feared God. They were in awe of who he was. They were living out Proverbs 24:11 that says, rescue those who are being taken away to death. Hold back those who are stumbling to the slaughter. And then New Testament, Acts 5:29 says, we must obey God rather than man. Now church, the king calls them out in verses 18 and 19, the midwives, and he tells them that the midwives tell the Pharaoh that the boys arrived before they could get there. And I don't know. The scripture doesn't say what happened. It doesn't say were they caught in traffic. Did they on purpose delay and go? We don't know. But I find it kind of interesting. Verse 20 and 21 says that God dealt well with these midwives. Now I want you to understand this, church. What side God's on? He dealt well with them. So Shiphrah and Puah were the first pro-life heroines in the Bible, and they used their influence to make an impact. I read an interview about a lady from the name of Sue Thayer from Iowa. She started working at an abortion clinic there, and part of her training, she was sent to Des Moines to go through. She had to go see a surgical abortion. In fact, she had to see 25 to 30 of them before she could get started. And she was told to go back to the back of the operating room, stand with her back against the wall so she didn't pass out and faint for the thing. And she mentioned that the sights and the sounds and the smells torment her to this day. In 2007, the clinic announced that they were going to do what's called webcam abortions. And the clinic liked webcam abortion because they didn't have to have a doctor on site. They didn't have to have pay travel or security expenses. And they also didn't have to invest in expensive surgical equipment. Instead, the webcam abortions, they're the same price as surgical abortions. And so the clinic made a ton more money. Now, she then explained what chemical abortions are and how they work. And I'm going to tell you, this kind of grabbed my heart. This kind of sank in me. When a woman finds out she's pregnant, this clinic, the staff is trained to put a smile on their face and to say this to these young ladies. We can take care of the problem today. All you have to do is to take some pills. All you have to do. Then an ultrasound is administered, and a doctor sitting in his or her office hundreds of miles away in Des Moines will look at it. He'll review the thing, take measurements, and if the child is 70 days or less, a doctor taps a button where he's at, and a little drawer opens up and there's pills that the girl can take, and she takes, and then a couple days later she takes a couple more pills, and that starts the whole process where she contracts and then ends up having to give birth to a dead baby. Folks, it's amazing what takes place. Sue said after some time God convicted her and she left her job and she started speaking out. In 2011, she helped organize 40 Days of Life in front of the clinic where she used to work. She said it was absolutely petrifying to getting to see the people she used to work with when she first started. Now listen to this. This is the part that got me excited. On March the 1st, 2012, that clinic closed their doors forever, never to open again. There is now a pregnancy resource center in the same community that once housed a clinic that killed babies. Listen, again I say it, to God be the glory. This year they're going to celebrate 8 years, their 8-year anniversary of this pregnancy resource center. I pray, like anything, we see many anniversaries right here at Abba and be that. Because this one woman, ladies, listen to me, they feared God. They feared God. She had no fear of speaking out, no fear of being active when there was incredible opposition, and do that. At the end of her interview, she was asked one more question. What would you want a pastor to say to his people? What would you want a pastor? I want you to listen to this, church. If every pastor from every pulpit in America would speak on the sanctity of life, Roe v. Wade would go away. It would go away. But listen what she ended with. But one pastor and one church can make a difference. I've determined Jim Goforth is going to be that one pastor. New Life Community Church is going to be that one church. And we're going to speak, and we're going to speak more often. I honestly, just as preparing, feel like I should have done more. We should have done more. But now's the time. Sue Thayer, once a manager at an abortion clinic, she has a new job. She's now the lead strategist for the Iowa Right to Life. Guys, you say, okay, so what? Since she started, I want you to understand, the Iowa abortion rates plummeted 40% since 2007. To God be the glory, right? I couldn't find the same exact numbers for West Virginia from 2007, but West Virginia abortions have dropped by 26% since 2014. Again, to God be the glory. And so, church, I'm asking you, are you ready to be like Shipra and Pua and Sue that are willing to do the right thing no matter what? No matter what, it's a role that somebody has to play. On Easter Sunday, I quoted Edmund Burke that said, all that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men, good women do nothing. That's it. We can and we must do something. Number 2 role is give birth, ladies. This fits you. This doesn't fit the men. Give birth to your baby by being courageous. Give birth to your baby by being courageous. I mean, Pharaoh's ticked at this point and because his plans have been messed up, and he makes a proclamation. Verse 22, he said, every son that is born to the Hebrews you shall cast into the Nile, but you shall let every daughter live. I mean, this is a direct order from the highest man in the whole world. And he says, every son is to be thrown into the Nile. Exodus 2:1, we're now introduced to a new couple, and it says, now a man from the house of Levi went and took his wife, a Levite woman. And so the Levites were just a people that were set apart to worship and to service. And then in verse 2, this is what it says. The woman conceived and bore a son, and when she saw that he was a fine child, take note of that he was a fine child, she hid him 3 months. The word fine means well-pleasing. Well-pleasing. When she saw the beauty of God's creation, she did everything she could do to protect him. This is important. We know from other passages that this mama's name was Jochebed, and at a very minimum, she's facing an inconvenient pregnancy. And in fact, she could be killed herself if she protects this baby. Why? Because he was a boy. Every son's to be thrown into the Nile. And so, ladies, I want you to hear me. The role of a mother is to protect and to nourish her offspring. Why did God in his sovereignty pick women to implant this baby into their womb? Because there's something about you ladies that a child will lock onto, that a mama will connect to and protect and guard. And that's why he lets you be the one that carries babies. But unfortunately, in our country, listen, the womb has become one of the most dangerous places in the entire world to be. It's unbelievable. So moms, my challenge is be courageous even when it's not costly. Be courageous even when it's costly. Why? Because life begins at conception. The Bible clearly teaches this. Psalm 139:13 says, "For you, God, formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb." And then we can see what she does next. Look at verse 3. It says, "When she could hide him no longer, she took for him a basket made of bulrushes, and she daubed it with bitumen and pitch, and she put the child in it and placed it among the reeds by the riverbank." I can't think how inconvenient it had to be the parents of this child. It wasn't easy. It was hard. They couldn't hang the diapers up on the line to dry after they'd cleaned them. They couldn't go to the food line and buy baby food. They couldn't let their baby cry out loud. They had to constantly hush for fear that this child was going to be put to death. But I want you to notice this, and don't miss this. She puts him in a basket. That word basket is the exact same word in Hebrew for ark. It's found in Genesis chapter 7. We'll come back to that here in a minute. And so I understand what some of you are saying. Why in the world are you speaking on this topic? Aren't you speaking to the choir when you're talking to churches? You know, we've already heard that the numbers are almost the same for the evangelical community, women that are having abortion, than those outside. And so ladies, listen, I'm going to ask you this question. Are you in the posture of growing? Because you're in the posture of growing, you'll be courageous. Even when it's hard. Even when it's not convenient. Even when it's not what everybody else does in our community. Number 3, and this is the one that's going to fit most of us. Be an advocate. Be an advocate by staying close to somebody in need. Verse 4, we're introduced to Moses' sister Miriam. And listen what it says. "And his sister stood at a distance to know what would be done to him." After the basket was placed in the river, she stood away and watched it. You see, one of the things that we know is that you've got to be close to somebody when they have a point of need. You have to be near them when their time of struggle happens. And listen, understand this. She was probably 10 to 12 years old. Some scholars will say as old as 13, but she was a young teenager at best. And the irony of what takes place, guys, you can't make this stuff up. Look at verses 5 and 6. It says, "Now the daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river, and while her young women walked beside the river, she saw the basket among the reeds, and she sent her servant woman, and she took it. And when she opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the baby was crying. She took pity on him and said, 'This is one of the Hebrews' children.'" This is when here was Miriam standing nearby. She jumps into action, and she uses wisdom and respect in how she responded. Verse 7, she said, "Then his sister said to the Pharaoh's daughter, 'Shall I go and call you a nurse from the Hebrew woman to nurse the child for you?'" See, understand this. She didn't say, "Do you want me to go get the baby's mom?" She wasn't focused on the kid at all. She was focused on the princess who found the kid. And she said, "Do you want me to go get somebody to nurse the baby?" She was wise. She was smart. She was available. She was nearby. Important to take things. And so we call this the principle of proximity. You know, principle of proximity, we have to be near someone to help them when they're in need. See, if you're close, you can reach out in crisis. But listen, that does something to us as Christians. We have to leave our little Christian cocoons. We have to get out of our holy huddles, and we have to be near people. We have to be near these girls that are in need. And Miriam stayed close, and because she did, she was able to speak up at the time of need. Proverbs 31:8 says, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute." And then finally, the fourth one is use your platform to protect life by living on mission. Pharaoh's daughter, Her name is Bithia. She represents someone who is in a position of power, but who is willing to use her platform to protect life. Some people may not like that, but literally, you have to use your platform to do that. Look at this. It says she was moved with compassion when she opened the basket, and look, and she saw the child. When she saw the child, and behold, the baby was crying, she took pity on him and said, this is one of the Hebrews. The word for crying means wailing and weeping. I mean, the poor little guy was in distress. I mean, you can just see him with the sucking his lip and going crazy. But when she heard his cries, when she saw it, that's when she was committed to help. You know, listen, one of the things that I was just talking earlier with Suzanne about here at Abba, they want to get these girls and they want to do an ultrasound. Why is that? Why do you think? Because it's a window into the womb. You know, that basket, when it opened up, the daughter of Pharaoh couldn't help because she fell in love with God's creation. When these girls, she just told me about a young girl that got to see her child wave his hand in the womb. Guys, there's a miracle involved in that. I know, Suzanne, when I saw the ultrasounds of both my boys, I mean, I'm not going to be ashamed to tell you, I cried. It was just unbelievable to see that heart beating. And then here just recently, church, if you haven't heard, both of my boys have announced that they're going to be having babies. I mean, Nick and Kia and Josh and Brittany are going to be having babies. And so come June and August, I'm going to join the Pawpaw Club. I mean, you see their images here on the screen right now. They kind of look like me, don't they? I mean, it's incredible. And when you look at it, but guys, after Miriam comes up with the idea to have the mother of Moses care for the baby, Bithia says this, verses 8 and 9. Go. So the girl went and called the child's mother. Take this child away and nurse him for me, and I will give him your wages. So the woman took the child and nursed him. So Jochebed, the boy's mom, is not only able to nurse her own child that thought was supposed to be put to death, but listen, she ultimately is going to get paid to take care of him. Through the most important years, the formative years of his life. And listen, later on, this is going to become a huge deal when this whole thing, and so leading and taking care of. But listen, don't miss the importance. His mama got to take and nurse him while he was growing up. She got to teach him and speak into his life. Now look at this. Hebrews 11:27. Why was this important? It talks about that his faith was strong. He was not fearing the king's anger. He persevered because he saw him who is invisible. So in the providence of God, we read verse 10. Listen, it says that Bithia, she drew him out of the water. She drew him out. You say, so what? Ironically, Moses ends up leading his people where? Out of the water. Out of the water when they flee from Egypt. He was drawn out so he could draw others out. One of Pharaoh's own children delivers a Hebrew child who would later deliver God's children from the bondage of Egypt. Crazy. God uses one from the house of the seed of the serpent to help deliver the seed of the woman. I mean, folks, that's some deep stuff right there, but how God puts it together. God has a purpose. God has a plan. Some of you need to understand that. He's got a plan. He wants to do it, and he loves to bring good out of bad. Let me share just one more thing, and then I'm going to land the plane. Bernard Nathanson's first involvement with an abortion was as a medical student in Montreal, Canada. In 1945, when his girlfriend became pregnant, he scheduled and financed her illegal abortion. In 1970, when New York legalized abortion, he became the director of the world's largest abortion clinic. In fact, he oversaw over 75,000 abortions, and he performed almost 5,000 himself, including one of his own children. By 1974, a year after Roe v. Wade, Nathanson began to question whether the fetus was just an undifferentiated mass of cells or a developing human being. He was becoming increasingly sure that an abortion was, in fact, a death, not merely a medical procedure. Yet he continued to perform them because he remained convinced that abortion was, listen to this, a legitimate solution to a woman's personal problem. But in the 1970s, however, a new technology was introduced here in the United States called the ultrasound, and it literally changed everything. For him, the ultrasound made it impossible to deny that abortion was anything other than the deliberate killing of a human being. Using ultrasound technology, he would later produce a pro-life documentary called The Silent Scream with film footage of an actual abortion. And listen, he explained this. Listen to his words. He says, these ultrasound technologies and apparatuses and machines, which we now use every day, have convinced us that beyond question, an unborn child is simply another human being, another member of the human community, indistinguishable in every way from any of us. And so now for the first time, we have the technology to see abortion from the victim's vantage point. Ultrasound imaging has allowed us to see this. Nathanson spent the rest of his life fighting the pro-abortion laws that he helped to start. The very laws that he lobbied for and fought for, he fought to end them and to do it. And like the daughter of Pharaoh, he used his platform to protect life. Friends, I want every one of you listening to this, whether you're from New Life or not, you can do the same thing. You can do exactly the same. If you're in the medical profession, or you're a counselor, or you're a teacher, my heavens, you have tremendous influence, tremendous. If you're a student, you're in middle school or high school or college, listen, let me challenge you to choose a profession where you can live on mission by standing up for life. It's that simple. I read a post recently that called on the church to encourage young people to not just go into the ministry, to become painters and plumbers and physicians and poets and pastry chefs and programmers who see themselves as in ministry in those careers. Folks, I think that is incredible for the glory of God. Listen, why? Because we fear God, we love God, we're in awe of Him. Every profession out there can be a platform for protecting life. Suzanne gave you some ways that you could get involved here. Let me give you a few more if I can. You know, number one is just give your resources to support life. You know, listen, you put your money where your mouth is. It makes a difference. Secondly, I want you to steward your civic responsibility. What do you mean? By voting. I am constantly amazed that people that say, I'm a Christian, but they don't exercise their right to vote. Folks, I don't get it. We have such a privilege and such an opportunity to change things. And listen, because a lot of evangelical Christians refuse to vote, we are going to suffer a repealing of laws. Anyway, I'm not going down that. Third, be open to adoption. Be open to foster care. Guys, listen, many of us, if we'll take what little we have and we use it for the glory of God, God will bless it. Some of you could open your home. Listen, we scream at these girls for having an abortion, but we don't offer them a choice. They feel helpless. They feel like they don't have a place to go. And then finally, support families who are fostering or adopting. New Life, we've got lots of families around New Life right now that are bringing all these new kids in, and it's hard. I've cried on the phone with several of them. Listen, let's get behind them. Let's go cut their grass. Let's take them meals. Let's watch them. Take them diapers. Do something, anything, and watch what a difference it makes. And you might think that none of this will make a difference. Guys, the good news is abortion rates are dropping in our country. They're dropping. In 1991, there were 2,176 abortion clinics in the United States. 2,176. In 2014, that number was down to 1,671. And I read some numbers where the numbers didn't line up, so I don't want to share more than that. But that's a conservative number. The Center for Disease Control reports that the abortion rate today is at its lowest level since 1973. That's incredible. To God be the glory, right? But I believe one reason is because believers are starting to use their task, what they can do. And I told you at the beginning of this, you know, women have a special part. But my question to you is, where are the mighty men? You know, you go back to 2 Samuel chapter 23. It talks about a group of men, a mighty men that rallied around David and got around. I believe that we need a group of mighty men that will rally around King Jesus in fighting for life. Guys, I want to speak directly to you. Hebrews 11:23. It says this about Moses' parents. It says, by faith, say it with me, by faith, Moses' parents hid him for 3 months after he was born because they saw he was no ordinary child and they were not afraid of the king's edict. It's interesting that both Pharaoh and Herod, what did they do? They murdered male babies. They murdered the boys. Why? One pastor put it like this: if you minimize the male, you can master a nation. I just challenge you. Look all around our country. Everywhere you go, you know, the TV shows, they show effeminate men. They show men that are weak, that are clumsy, that are doofuses. Folks, I'm here to tell you that men, we need to step up. Men, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to charge you from what Paul said in 1 Corinthians 16. He said, be watchful, stand firm in the faith. Listen to this, guys. Act like men, be strong. God intends for men to be strong and to defend those that can't defend themselves. Listen, it doesn't take anything to stand back and do nothing. And that's exactly what's taking place. So guys, I challenge you. You're made for greatness. You know, quit being passive. You and I were born to defend women and children, including the preborn. So don't sit idly by when you know your lives are being snuffed out. So church, let's land it like this. What role are you going to play? I've talked about them. I want you to put up that counter on the clock. This I found online. It's the number of abortions worldwide, and you just watch that number. There's another baby. If you have a heart and you can see that number ticking, that's great. That number's somewhere in the 3,000 mark every day. Every day in the United States. Every day. Listen, Suzanne made the comparison to COVID. I'm going to do the same thing. If 3,000 people were dying of COVID every day, we would move heaven and earth to do something about it. If 3,000 people were killed by Islamic terrorists every day in our country, we would scream bloody murder till our government sent in the armed forces to go kick butt in Jesus' name. I mean, we would want to see something happen. But guys, we have the opportunity right now to make a difference. We just have to play the role that God's put in front of us. We just have to do something. And so we can snuff this whole Roe v. Wade thing. I know we're seeing it step back right now. But church, that's only because good people do nothing. Only because of that. Are you ready to use your role as God writes his story for his glory? Will you use your influence to make a great impact? Guys, God was preparing to save the world through a baby. But his life got snuffed out. And it got snuffed out, why? Because of our sin. Because of our wrong. And listen, his resurrection of the dead from where it made it so that we can have life. Guys, I want to challenge you. If you don't know what the life that is found in Jesus is, why don't you just reach out to him. Turn to him. Repent of your sin and say, Jesus, I need you to forgive me. Guys, I'm going to challenge you today. And they're popping up the link to the giving link for Abba. Guys, let's start here. Let's determine. I'm going to make a difference. Man, what if you just made a gift that was sacrificial, that cost you something? Man, I believe God would do it. Listen, I believe that God wants us to find our purpose. In fact, I believe God wants us to thrive. He wants us to thrive for the reason he made us. In fact, Pastor Dan's going to close us out with the song, We Were Made to Thrive. Thank you, church.
Here in this worn and weary land, many dreams have died. Like a tree planted by the water, we never will run dry. It's living water flowing through. God, we thirst for more of you. So fill our hearts and flood our souls with one desire, just to know you and to make you known. We lift your name on high. Shine like the sun, make darkness run and hide. We know we were made for so much more than ordinary lives. It's time for us to more than just survive. We were made to thrive. Into your word, we're digging deep to know our Father's heart. Into the word, we're reaching out to show them who you are. So living water flowing through. God, we thirst for more of you. So fill our hearts and flood our souls with one desire, just to know you and to make you know. We lift your name on high. Shine like the sun, make darkness run and hide. We know we were made for so much more than ordinary lives. It's time for us to more than just serve.